My name is Jonathan Monfries. My background is actually in architecture and urban planning, and I like to design art installations that have a positive impact on the public realm, and they're interactive. So my kind of goal has always been to find ways to make art more accessible to the public and find ways that people can actually interact with them directly. And so, having my background in architecture, I find ways to incorporate some kind of unique design strategies to work out different structures. For Canopy, we're doing a parametric design, so to create sort of like the effect of a tree canopy. So I try to marry that kind of art and architecture side of things. Yeah, so my initial ideas with Canopy was to create something that people can view from a distance and appreciate an art piece, but they can also engage with it directly and also get some rest from the hot summer sun outside, but also be able to sit down, appreciate the art more closely, so you can kind of enjoy it from a distance as well as being close up. There's also a goal of kind of understanding how we can really look at climate resiliency with art installations and how perhaps we need to design systems that actually prevent heat stroke and getting too hot from being on hot downtowns and in urban heat islands. So the interesting thing that I find is that a lot of people say architecture is a bit of a mix of art and science. And so I find in the design process is where you can really understand the artistic benefits of choosing a design that works with the culture, the context, and that's really where the art is able to flourish. And then the science comes in where you determine how this can actually be built. How can this actually work well, be structurally sound? And so it kind of goes into the early research phase where you can kind of incorporate unique artistic considerations based on where the installation is going, and then using the science of architecture to make sure it gets built efficiently. I think the consideration for public realm has sort of these key elements that are mainly around what draws people to a space and what makes them more comfortable in a space. So I find for Canopy, the main idea was to find ways to bring people to the installation and interact with it directly. And that allows people to kind of connect with each other. They can appreciate the art, but also sit next to a stranger and meet someone new. And that allows you to create kind of a nice social space. So being able to bring people together, and finding ways to really foster that energy and social collaboration is what really, I think, helps create successful public realms. For Canopy, we really wanted to use a strategy that looks at biomimicry. So in this case, we're obviously mimicking the experience of sitting under a tree canopy, perhaps reading a book or getting shade from the sun. And what I really like is that everyone can kind of walk by and acknowledge the fact that, hey, it looks like a tree. And it looks like a comfortable place that I can sit underneath and hang out. I can watch the street performers, I can engage with the art, I can sit and have a bite to eat. And the idea is that everyone has an appreciation for trees and nature, and we always want to incorporate more nature into our city. So being able to have a space in a kind of concrete urban jungle that provides that similar experience was really the goal here. And even when we were installing it, a child walked by and said, "Oh, look, it's a tree house." And there's nothing wrong with that. It could totally be a treehouse. It's totally, up to whoever wants to interpret it into, how do they use the tree? Do they sit on it? Do they like to, lie underneath it, just stare at it? There's different ways to kind of really engage with people that way and ensure that it's still sort of a playful installation that is up to interpretation, as most art is. I have a huge passion for doing art installations like this, both temporary and permanent. I also work in architecture and designing buildings, so my interest has always been right across all scales, working in smaller installations that have immediate benefits to the public, to larger projects and buildings that have effects on our public. And my interest has always been on how can we use these installations and design overall to better positively affect our mental well-being and how we feel in cities. So that's always been my passion. I have my Instagram is at @J_MONS, JMons. My website is jmonfriesdesign.wordpress.com. And I would also like to shout out to Stantec, who sponsored the installation and provided the materials for the installation. So that was a huge help in making this a reality. I am really excited for the Works Art and Design Festival this year. There's a million great activities going on, and the cooperation with the Street Performance Festival just makes it a nice collaboration between two great organizations and just a wonderful Edmonton festival to kick off July. So looking forward to it.